From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, I am Win Peñano bringing you today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. Here are top Malacañang stories. Malacañang says the government is carefully reviewing petitions for a transport fare increase while making sure any decision will not place an added burden on commuters. In a palace briefing, Malacañang Press Officer Claire Castro said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. wants to balance the concerns of transport operators with the welfare of the riding public, especially amid the economic effects of the Middle East crisis.
Well, ang sabi naman ng Pangulo, sana ay hindi makaapekto kung magkakaroon man ng pagtaas ng pamasahe o hindi magkakaroon ng taas ng pamasahe.
Discussing the fare hike petitions, with the palace set to announce the outcome once a decision has been made. She also appealed to transport groups to purge or to pursue dialogue instead of staging strikes.
Muli, ang nais ng gobyerno, ang nais ng pamahalaan ay pag-uusap, negosasyon, makita kung ano ang daing at kung meron mang magkakaroon ng transport rally, hindi po kasi ito ang tugon, hindi ito ang sagot sa mga ganitong klaseng issue dahil mas mahihirapan lang din po ang ating mga commuters sa gagawin ganitong klaseng aksyon.
Transport Group Manibela has announced a 3-day transport strike from August 10 to 12 unless its request for a provisional fare increase is granted. While respecting the right to peacefully assembly, Malacañang said protest actions could disrupt the economy and make commuting more difficult. The palace also assured the public that contingency measures are in place should the planned strike push through.
Dateline Malacañang.
In our news, Malacañang says the government is studying proposals to expand assistance for public utility vehicle operators and drivers as fuel prices remain high. In a briefing in Malacañang, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Office of the Executive Secretary, the Department of Transportation, and the government's economic team are discussing recommendations submitted by the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB.
Sa ngayon ay pinag-uusapan po, nakausap po natin mismo si Secretary Banoy at mayroon po siyang pakikipagpulong sa Office of the Executive Secretary para pag-usapan po ang mga detalye patungkol dito.
Castro said the existing 10 peso per liter fuel discount for public utility vehicle drivers has been extended until the end of August while the government finalizes its decision. She added that officials are also considering other forms of assistance including possible additional cash aid.
Pero sa ngayon po ay patuloy pa rin po, extended po hanggang katapusan ng August ang 10 peso per liter fuel discount or subsidy. So, pag-uusapan po ng Office of the Executive Secretary, DOTR, and Economic Team para po mas magkaroon ng konkreto at detalyeng resolusyon patungkol po dyan.
The LTFRB earlier recommended increasing the fuel subsidy to 20 pesos per liter for 1 month to help public utility vehicle operators and drivers cope with rising fuel costs.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. wants the proposed progress bill passed within the year. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Yusek Claire Castro says the Department of Finance is still refining the measure, which aims to fund tax relief initiatives while generating additional government revenues.
Sa ngayon po ay inaaral pa, working on it, ang DOF. At alam naman po ng Pangulo na kasalukuyang itong binubusisi ng DOF kasi nais po ng Pangulo na ito ay maipasa sa pinakamabilis na panahon.
Castro said the proposed tax reforms are not expected to burden ordinary Filipinos, particularly middle-income earners, since the adjustments would mainly affect luxury goods and selected products.
So, hindi naman po yung mga middle income ang usually maaapektuhan ng mga binabalak po na mga tax reforms. Ito naman po ay may patungkol sa kalusugan. Mas maganda nga po maiwasan kung tayo po ay laging magkukonsume ng napakatamis na mga kakanin or pagkain or inumin.
The proposed progress bill seeks to raise the personal income tax exemption to 350,000 pesos and exempt micro, small, and medium enterprises from the minimum corporate income tax. To offset revenue losses, the Department of Finance is proposing higher excise taxes on sweetened beverages, vape products, and other novel tobacco products.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang has assured the public that assistance under the Local Government Support Fund or LGSF will be distributed fairly to all local government units regardless of political affiliation. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has made it clear that the program is intended to benefit all communities nationwide.
Nadinig po natin ang naisin ng Pangulo patungkol dito sa LGSF. Nakita din po natin ang mga pagbibigay ng mga bigas, pag-ayuda sa ating mga kababayan patungkol sa 10 kilo na bigas sa ating mga kababayan. Ito po ay nabanggit din po ni Mayor Lenny Robredo ng Naga City na siya mismo ang nakakita at isa siya sa testigo na magsasabi na ang LGSF ay pangkalahatan. Walang pinipiling kulay po ito, walang pinipiling bayan, walang pinipiling lugar. Lahat po ng barangays, lahat po ng local government units ay mabibiyayaan po ng LGSF.
Local officials to ensure that government assistance reaches beneficiaries in full and without abuse. She urged the public to report any irregularities, including complaints involving rice distribution or demands for payment in exchange for government aid.
Kapag kayo po ay sinabihan na kailangan magbayad kayo para makatanggap ng ayuda mula sa pamahalaan, wala pong bayad ni 5. So wag po kayo magpapaloko. Muli, kapag kayo po ay duda at meron kayong nararamdaman na panloloko, ipagbigay alam nyo lang po sa amin ito para po ito ay matugunan namin ng mabilisan.
According to Malacañang, more than 1,200 local government units have already received assistance under the LGSF since the launch of the Bawat Bayan Makikinabang initiative earlier this year.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says political infighting and repeated changes in Senate leadership contributed to the slow passage of the Marcos administration's priority measures. Palace Press Officer Yusek Claire Castro issued a statement after Senator Amy Marcos described the Senate's performance over the past year as a failure, noting that only 2 of the administration's 53 priority bills were passed.
Sino po ba ang nag-umpisa ng pagbabago ng liderato? At nung nagkaroon po ng pagbabago ng liderato, nandun na po yung nagkaroon ng putukan sa Senado, nagkaroon na po ng gulo sa Senado, nagkaroon ng 3 araw na sunod-sunod na hindi pagpunta at pag-attend sa sesyon.
Castro said the disruptions affected the Senate's legislative work and delayed action on key administration measures. She also urged public officials to put the national interest ahead of politics.
Magsilbing aral po sana ito sa lahat ng mga public servants na hindi pwedeng daanin sa ganitong klaseng ang pamumuno at ang dapat na laging manguna ay ang interes ng bayan, hindi ang sariling interes, hindi ang interes para lagi lang mamuno, kundi dapat ay para sa kabutihan ng bawat Pilipino.
Before Congress adjourned in June, a group of senators boycotted 3 consecutive session days, delaying deliberations on several administration-backed measures.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang has commended the Bureau of Customs for posting its highest monthly revenue collection on record. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Bureau collected nearly 95.85 billion pesos in July, surpassing its monthly target and setting a new record under the leadership of Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno.
Sa pamumuno ni Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno, nakamit ng Bureau of Customs ang pinakamataas na buwan ng koleksyon nitong July na umabot sa 95.848 billion pesos. Ayon sa BOC, ito rin ang highest January to July revenue collections base sa preliminary data ng kawanihan.
The palace said the record collection reflects the government's efforts to strengthen revenue generation and fund priority programs and public services.
Malaki ang parteng ginagampanan ng epektibong revenue collection sa kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino. Dahil bawat piso na nakokolekta ay napupunta sa priority programs ng projects ng pamahalaan. Mga proyektong may direktang benepisyo sa taong bayan. Mga ospital at paaralan, kalsada at mga tulay, social welfare at disaster response. Nakasuporta ang revenue collection sa lahat ng ito. Kaya naman tulungan natin ang ating mga ahensya gaya ng BOC upang labanan ang mga smugglers at ibang gumagawa ng illegal para protektahan ang interes ng bayan.
The Bureau of Customs said its July collection exceeded the month's target and was significantly higher than the amount collected in the same period last year. The government said the revenues will help finance infrastructure projects, social services, and disaster response programs.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Marcos administration has reaffirmed its commitment to upholding the rule of law, respect for human rights, and international humanitarian law. Malacañang said this was highlighted during the observance of the 77th International Humanitarian Law Month led by the Department of National Defense at Camp Aguinaldo. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the event reflects President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to ensure that government actions remain anchored on the Constitution, international law, and the protection of human dignity.
Hindi na natiling zone of neutrality o pwedeng mangyari ang zone of neutrality sa ASEAN. Paano natin makakamit yan kung hindi ipaglalaban? Ipinapakita natin ngayon ang benepisyo ng Philippines ang kanyang maritime domain sa ASEAN. Pangalawa, inilahad natin yung mga rulings sa arbitral award na walang debate. Ang ating operations nakabatay sa law, walang maniniwalang kung hindi tayo babatay sa law.
The palace said the Defense Department also stressed that international humanitarian law protects civilians and other non-combatants during armed conflict and requires discipline, accountability, and respect for human dignity. Malacañang added that the administration remains committed to asserting the country's rights in the West Philippine Sea through peaceful means and in accordance with international law.
Dahil tayo man ay magkakaiba sa maraming bagay, iisa lang tayong lahi. Tayong lahat ay Pilipino. Pilipino sa diwa, Pilipino sa dugo.
This heard Palace Press Officer Yusek Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police or PNP has ordered all police regional offices and national support units to strengthen compliance with international humanitarian law and human rights in all police operations. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said the directive supports the administration's push for professional, rights-based, and accountable policing while protecting communities and upholding the rule of law. The order comes as the country observes the 77th International Humanitarian Law Month this August with the theme Pinalakas na Ugnayan at Pagkakaisa sa Pagsulong ng IHL. Nartates said all police commanders have been instructed to ensure that operations are carried out in accordance with the law while protecting the rights and dignity of civilians, particularly in conflict-affected areas. He added that police personnel will continue to undergo regular training, coordinate with partner agencies, and strictly follow operational procedures that prioritize civilian protection. The PNP chief also cited lessons from the 2017 Marawi siege, stressing that professionalism is measured not only by mission success but also by respect for human dignity and the rule of law.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police or PNP is strengthening community intelligence efforts to crack down on illegal gambling operations across the country. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said information from residents remains one of the most effective ways to identify and dismantle illegal gambling hubs. In July alone, police arrested 9,401 individuals during anti-illegal gambling operations and confiscated more than 3.2 million pesos worth of bet money and gambling paraphernalia. Nartates said the campaign covers not only Metro Manila but also municipalities, provinces, and remote areas nationwide. He added that illegal gambling often leads to other crimes including theft, robbery, domestic violence, and crimes against persons, making its elimination a priority for the police. The PNP chief said sustained operations and stronger community cooperation will help improve peace and order in communities across the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG is urging local government units to support the rollout of an artificial intelligence-powered legislative information system aimed at modernizing local lawmaking. Under Memorandum Circular Number 2026-041, the DILG encouraged city and municipal officials to submit electronic copies of ordinances, resolutions, and other legislative measures for inclusion in the e-Legis reference system. The AI-driven platform will serve as a centralized online database, making local legislation more accessible, transparent, and efficient. Among its features are an AI-assisted drafting tool, a personalized legislative feed, and a research platform that allows local officials to quickly search for ordinances, resolutions, and policy references. The DILG said the system will help reduce paperwork, streamline legislative processes, improve records management, and promote evidence-based policy making. The initiative is being implemented in partnership with the Vice Mayors League of the Philippines and the University of the Philippines National College of Public Administration and Governance.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Customs or BOC has intercepted 2 shipments of misdeclared firecrackers worth around 40 million pesos at the Manila International Container Port. Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno led the inspection of the shipments from China, which were flagged by the Customs Intelligence and Investigation Service following reports that they contained prohibited fireworks. One shipment declared as shelves arrived in June and was consigned to a Bulacan-based company, while another declared as a ceramic cups arrived in July and was bound for a Cebu-based consignee. Physical inspection confirmed that both shipments contained firecrackers and other pyrotechnics pyrotechnic products. Nepomuceno said the seizure shows the effectiveness of the Bureau's screening process and warned smugglers that illegal importation would only lead to financial losses. The BOC reminded the public that the importation of finished firecrackers and pyrotechnic devices is prohibited under Republic Act 7183. The confiscated items will be turned over to the appropriate government agencies for the filing of charges and proper disposal.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR says it remains on track to achieve its 3.393 trillion revenue or 3.9393 trillion peso revenue collection target for 2026. BIR Commissioner Charlito Martin Mendoza said collections reached 1.6 trillion pesos in the first half of the year, up more than 5% from the 1.55 trillion pesos collected during the same period last year. Mendoza attributed the increase to reforms aimed at improving taxpayer compliance, including a one-time tax abatement program for micro taxpayers and the rollout of the BIR's digital taxpayer portal. He said the online portal, initially available to large taxpayers, will be expanded to other taxpayers starting next month to make tax filing and payments more convenient. The BIR chief also vowed to continue simplifying tax procedures, strengthen digitalization efforts, and intensify enforcement against tax evasion. So far, the agency has filed tax cases against 14 contractors linked to the flood control issue. Mendoza also assured the public that the BIR is ready to implement President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s proposed tax reforms, including higher income tax exemptions and tax relief for small businesses.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR has launched a new ethics and anti-corruption training program to strengthen integrity and accountability among its officials and employees. The Ethical Standards and Anti-Corruption Course for Revenue Officers or ESACOR aims to equip BIR personnel with the knowledge and practical skills to address ethical issues, prevent corruption, promote transparency, and maintain a respectful workplace. The program also reintroduced the agency's revised Code of Conduct for revenue officials and employees. BIR Commissioner Charlito Martin Mendoza said the agency's reforms depend on employees who understand the responsibility of public service and consistently uphold honesty and excellence in their work. Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto, who served as a keynote speaker during the launch, stressed the importance of collective action in building a culture of integrity and good governance. The BIR said the initiative is part of its continuing efforts to strengthen public trust and improve the quality of government service.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Agriculture or DA says the 50 pesos per kilogram price cap on 5% broken imported rice is unlikely to be extended. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said current market prices have remained within or below the ceiling, making an extension of the price cap unnecessary for now. The statement came after a joint market inspection by the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Trade and Industry at the new Las Piñas City Public Market. Chu Laurel said imported rice was being sold for 47 pesos to 50 pesos per kilo, indicating that retail prices remain stable. He also maintained his proposal to temporarily suspend imports of 5% broken imported rice to give locally produced rice a better chance in the market. The Agriculture Chief likewise urged rice traders and millers to maintain fair prices that benefit both consumers and participants throughout the supply chain. Based on the DA's latest price watch, premium imported rice in Metro Manila is currently selling for 48 pesos to 55 pesos per kilogram, while imported well-milled rice ranges from 45 pesos to 50 pesos per kilogram.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Agriculture or DA has assured the public that no red onion imports will be allowed until next year to protect Filipino onion farmers. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said the country has enough supply of red onions, making imports unnecessary until at least March 2027. He said the move aims to protect the income of local growers, particularly those in Nueva Ecija and Mindoro. For white onions, however, the DA is considering a limited importation if supplies begin to tighten by November, with the volume still to be determined. Chu Laurel also said import clearances will be carefully regulated to ensure they do not affect the local harvest season. The agriculture chief added that the recent increase in onion prices is mainly due to logistics challenges, not a shortage in supply. Based on the DA's latest price watch, local onions in Metro Manila are selling for 70 pesos to 160 pesos per kilogram, while imported onions range from 95 pesos to 150 pesos per kilogram.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Agriculture or DA says the Philippines has a strong potential to expand the production of enoki mushrooms for both export and local market. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said countries such as South Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, parts of China, and the Middle East have high demand for enoki mushrooms. The Philippines currently imports about 6,200 metric tons of enoki each year to meet local demand, while only one modern facility produces the mushroom locally. The DA is encouraging farmers to take advantage of government credit programs to expand production and tap growing domestic and international markets.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD has provided more than 1.16 million pesos worth of humanitarian assistance to families affected by Tropical Depression Luis and other weather systems. It includes family food packs and non-food items, while ready-to-eat meals were also distributed to stranded passengers at Tabaco Port in the Bicol region. The DSWD said it continues to monitor more than 1,200 families staying in evacuation centers in Central Luzon and the Zamboanga Peninsula in coordination with local government units. The agency also urged the public to remain alert, follow local authorities' advisories, and take necessary precautions as bad weather persists.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Government Service Insurance System or GSIS has returned more than 9 billion pesos in loan amortizations to over 500,000 members and pensioners under the expanded Balik Ginhawa 2 program. GSIS said the refunds were released in just 24 days, bringing total reimbursements under the Balik Ginhawa program to more than 18 billion pesos. Qualified borrowers can recover up to 6 monthly loan payments with the refunded amount credited directly to their designated GSIS bank account. Members and pensioners may check their eligibility and apply through the GSIS Touch mobile application.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development or DHS-UD says the expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program continues to raise the standard of affordable housing in the country. The agency recently led the topping off ceremony of Avesta Residences in Imus, Cavite, a socialized condominium project expected to provide 7,000 housing units by 2028. The project aims to offer affordable homes closer closer to workplaces, government offices, and essential services for Filipino families. Meanwhile, the DHSUD also strengthened coordination with other government agencies to intensify efforts against illegal real estate practices and better protect home buyers from fraudulent property transactions.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Social Housing Finance Corporation, or SHFC, has launched the month-long celebration of the 38th anniversary of the Community Mortgage Program by signing a partnership with the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor. The agreement aims to expand access to government housing programs for more urban poor communities nationwide. The SHFC also awarded land titles to 20 beneficiaries from homeowners associations in Caloocan and Valenzuela cities, giving families greater security and land ownership. The Community Mortgage Program remains one of the government's flagship housing initiatives under the expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino, or 4PH program.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Justice, or DOJ, says 20 officials and employees of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH Cebu 3rd District Engineering Office, are facing criminal complaints over alleged irregularities in 2 flood control projects in Balamban, Cebu. The complaints filed by the National Bureau of Investigation include allegations of malversation, falsification of public documents, perjury, illegal use of public funds, and violations of the government procurement law. The DOJ clarified that the cases are still under preliminary investigation and the respondents will be given the opportunity to answer the allegations before any resolution is made. The department said it will also evaluate any additional complaints that may be filed as the broader investigation into flood control projects continues.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Immigration, or BI, has arrested a 34-year-old Taiwanese national who was found to be illegally staying in the Philippines after allegedly figuring in a hit-and-run incident in Marikina City. Authorities said the suspect allegedly struck a 62-year-old pedestrian at a designated crossing on July 29 before police discovered he had no valid driver's license or legal identification. Immigration records show the foreign national had overstayed since 2019 and was already facing a deportation case and other immigration violations. The Bureau of Immigration said it will continue working with law enforcement agencies to arrest and deport foreign nationals who violate Philippine laws and threaten public safety.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Immigration, or BI, has intercepted a 50-year-old Filipina at Noy Aquino International Airport Terminal 1 after she was identified as a possible victim of human trafficking. The woman initially claimed she was traveling to Thailand for a vacation but later admitted that her actual destination was Russia for work. Authorities said she had allegedly paid 170,000 pesos to recruiters who arranged her travel. The passenger was turned over to the Interagency Council Against Trafficking for assistance and investigation, while the BI reminded aspiring overseas workers to verify job offers through legitimate government agencies and avoid unauthorized recruiters.
Dateline Malacañang.
Two Filipino seafarers injured after their tanker was hit by drones in the Black Sea have safely returned to the Philippines and are now receiving government assistance. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, said the crew members of the MV Gas Lisbon suffered burn injuries when the vessel caught fire near the coast of Romania on July 20. A fellow Filipino seafarer later died from the incident. The Department of Migrant Workers and OWA provided financial assistance upon their arrival and are coordinating their continuing medical treatment and recovery. The government also assured support for the family of the deceased seafarer, including assistance for the repatriation of his remains.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, is optimistic that the Philippines and Canada are moving closer to completing their proposed free trade agreement. DTI Undersecretary Allen Gepti said the latest round of negotiations in Canada was very successful, with the next round of talks scheduled for September to finalize key details, including market access. Trade officials aim to conclude the agreement within the year to expand trade opportunities and create more markets for Philippine products, especially those of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Canada is currently the Philippines' 16th largest trading partner, with bilateral merchandise trade reaching $2.15 billion in 2025.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Energy, or DOE, has awarded a one-year airborne geophysical survey in Mindanao to the United Kingdom-based firm Metatech as part of efforts to strengthen the country's energy security. The survey will cover about 40,000 square kilometers of the Agusan-Davao Basin and Davao Gulf to gather modern subsurface data for oil, natural gas, geothermal, and other energy resources. The project is the first phase of a 4-year exploration program aimed at reducing exploration risks and expanding the country's indigenous energy sources. The DOE said the initiative will help lessen the country's dependence on imported fuel and support a more secure and reliable energy supply.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has identified 108 areas of concern for the September 14 Bangsamoro parliamentary elections. Based on COMELEC data, 26 areas are under the red category, indicating serious security threats and a history of election-related violence, with most located in Lanao del Sur. The poll body also listed 41 yellow, 23 orange, and 18 green areas across the Bangsamoro region. Despite the current assessment, COMELEC Chairperson George Garcia said he expects the number of red areas to decline as local officials work to maintain peace and order before Election Day.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, will now require all candidates to submit a sworn declaration on conflict of interest as part of their certificate of candidacy, beginning with the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections this November. COMELEC said the requirement, approved by the Commission and Bank, reminds candidates to comply with existing laws that prohibit public officials from having financial interests that could influence their official duties. The poll body clarified that the declaration is not a new qualification for public office, but a measure to promote transparency and accountability among election candidates.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Army has deployed 3 additional battalions to help secure the first ever Bangsamoro parliamentary elections on September 14. Army spokesperson Colonel Louis de Maala said the reinforcements include the 28th Infantry Battalion, the 75th Infantry Battalion, and the 2nd Scout Ranger Battalion, along with a joint special operations team. The troops will support ongoing security operations, including the enforcement of the election gun ban. The Army is also coordinating closely with the Philippine National Police to help ensure peaceful, orderly, and credible elections across the Bangsamoro region.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, monitored 48 Chinese Navy and Coast Guard vessels in 4 key areas of the West Philippine Sea last July. The AFP said the ships were sighted near Ayungin Shoal, Bajo de Masinloc, Escoda Shoal, and Pag-asa Islands. While lower than the 74 vessels recorded in June, the military said the presence of the ships reflects China's continued illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive activities in Philippine waters. The AFP assured the public that it remains committed to protecting the country's maritime interests through sustained patrols, stronger coordination, and enhanced maritime security operations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Headline inflation eased to 6.2% in July, down from 6.4% in June, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA. The slower increase in transport costs was the main factor behind the decline, along with lower inflation in education services and restaurants and accommodation. Food inflation remained steady at 5.3%, while core inflation, which excludes selected food and energy items, also eased to 4.2% from 4.4% in June. The PSA said food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing and utilities, and transport remained the biggest contributors to overall inflation.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that concludes today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, I am Win Peñano. Good day.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila. Dateline Malacañang.